Aggressive behavior at home is by all accounts at the front of the media, an ever-increasing number of habitually nowadays. This is to some extent because of harmful episodes including sports figures or big names becoming exposed, as well as YouTubers and people of note talking and sharing their very own encounters in sincerely oppressive connections as a prudent example for other people. Oppressive conduct isn't generally just about as clear as actual maltreatment like being hit or pushed or boisterous attack, for example, being called corrupting names or cussed out. I'm discussing mental maltreatment, otherwise called mental or psychological mistreatment. Mental maltreatment happens when an individual in the relationship attempts to control data accessible to someone else with purpose to control that individual's feeling of the real world or their perspective on what is satisfactory and not okay. All misuse negatively affects confidence. The manhandled individual beginnings feeling vulnerable and perhaps even irredeemable. What's more, most mental victimizers are skilled at persuading the casualty that the maltreatment is his or her shortcoming. Some way or another, the casualty is answerable for what occurred. One of the more complex types of mental maltreatment is frequently alluded to as gaslighting. This happens when bogus data is given the plan of making casualties question their own memory, discernment, and mental stability. One more typical type of psychological mistreatment is saying, "I love you," yet that might sound pleasant from the beginning, yet it is both a hidden analysis and a danger. It designates, "I love you now, yet in the event that you don't stop either, my affection will be removed." These steady hits gradually strips away your confidence. Victimizers get a ton of support out of utilizing love, as it appears to turn into an enchanted word to control you. Victimizers on occasion do what I call give you a break. As a matter of fact, it is intriguing for harmful connections to not have these, frequently serious, snapshots of feeling quite a bit better, complete with excessively true expressions of remorse and endeavors to compensate for the terrible way of behaving. Here are indications of psychological mistreatment to look for in the event that you figure you or a companion might be in mentally harmful relationship. Embarrassing or humiliating you. Perhaps you're out to supper and your accomplice arranges the plate of mixed greens for you, saying, "Correct, been pressing on a few additional pounds, they'll simply have a plate of mixed greens." Or when you examine the wine list, they chuckle at you before the server and every other person in the cafe and let you know how idiotic you are and how could you assume you have significant familiarity with wine, pass on it to them. Continually putting you down. You know, you'd be prettier on the off chance that you wore some cosmetics, or you ought to really attempt to accomplish something with your hair, as opposed to being so lethargic isn't close at all to an underhanded commendation. It's simply unacceptable. Exposing you to hypercriticism. How is it that you could miss the point? It is the least difficult thing a chimpanzee could do. Simply add water. Allow it to heat up. It's spaghetti. In any case, scrutinizing you is a guarded strategy that victimizers as often as possible use to cause their casualties to feel substandard. Declining to impart or giving you the quiet treatment. After a battle, your accomplice won't converse with you, counting texts, messages, calls, or whatever else, for more than 7 days. This isn't giving them space. It's them rebuffing you. Disregarding or barring you. At the point when your accomplice at last brings you along to their week after week supper with their family, they end up totally disregarding you the entire time. In any event, when you respectfully or compassionately endeavor to join the discussion so you can be a piece of the conversation and really be recognized in the room, period. Having extramarital illicit relationships. They could attempt to shield their activities by expressing something as, "It amounts to nothing. Quit being so delicate and don't attack my protection like that." Showing provocative way of behaving with a person of the other gender. Perhaps you're at a party together and you see your accomplice playing with another person or looking at them from head right down to toe. Utilization of mockery and a disagreeable manner of speaking to your detriment. Outlandish desire. Taking your telephone, breaking into your PC to peruse your messages, or tuning in on your discussions is rarely typical, not to mention satisfactory, conduct in a solid relationship. Dastardly jokes or consistent ridiculing. Endeavors at mastery and control. Keeping sex or warmth, exposing you to guilt trips, all these are signs of abusive relations.